Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this PDS webinar, Flow version 4 release and smart drainage. I hope you're all well. Okay, so I'm going to introduce who we have today. So I'm Jenny, I'm hosting the webinar today. We've got Tom Fox presenting, he's the sales executive of the product, and we've also got Net here, who is the product owner. And we will be looking at an introduction of the software, then generating a drainage design in Flow, which will be SmartDrainage AutoCAD Civils 3D, and working through the design of a storm network. Then we'll have a few demonstrations of SmartDrainage and Flow version 4. And as I said at the end, we've got any comments and questions, so you can use that box to ask any of those questions. We'll be running a couple of polls as well throughout, so I'm just going to do a test one to get you used to the system. So you should see a quick poll pop up. Just select one of the answers and then click submit, and I can see them all flooding in now, so I know you're all awake, and then I can share the results there. So very evenly matched. Okay, so without further ado, I will pass you over to Tom, who will start his presentation.
Many thanks, Jenny. Yeah, no, thanks, and really interesting results from the poll that you just ran. So the purpose of this webinar is really to sort of show you our smart drainage, and as that will take any graphical drawing in AutoCAD or Civils 3D and automatically build a flow compatible drainage network. And this is removing the unnecessary step of retracing your drawings. However, before we start, we should also like to say that, this is the first time that we're showing smart drainage, and it really is our privilege to be able to show this to you. Smart drainage is on a fast track development, and we hope to release it very soon. However, please bear in mind that this is not a finished article as of yet in terms of the user interface, but the functionality and workflow is complete. When we expect to have a beta version released in the coming weeks, and we will have the first release later in the summer. So just as a recap, that we are constructing this network in AutoCAD in true Blue Peter style. We generated a lot of the network beforehand. We are using layer control for the links, and we're using the existing AutoCAD drawing function to be able to generate that. So it's not, we're using that AutoCAD functionality, and then we're putting in for circles for nodes. And then when it comes to the contributing areas, you can use polylines to define contributing areas, or polygons. And yeah, as you sort of said, you can create layers for the nodes and links and catchments in AutoCAD. So now that we have the drawing complete, we will ask SmartDrainage to convert our drawing of polylines and circles to recognize them as links and nodes that can be read by Flow. In order to do that, by using SmartDrainage, we can auto build the Flow network with a click on the outfall of the node. So here you can now see that the pipe names have been put in, and then also you can see that there's some curved pipes that have also been recognized as links. The question marks show that we haven't given them a diameter yet, because that functionality will be done in Flow for the sizing up. We've also got a foul network, which we've clicked on the head of that foul network, and again that's also been generated as a network to be exported into Flow. So now what we're going to do is that's now been saved, and we're going to be bringing that into Flow. So we will now import the SmartDrainage file that we saved into Flow and start by defining our design settings. So we're putting in our M560 and our ratio R and that time of entry. We can now go to our nodes and we can see that the associated contributing areas, cover levels, and all those imported nodes have been brought across. We can also do the same with the links and assess those that have been brought in. As we can see, we have all the necessary component parts that constitute a network. So all we need to do now is to optimize our network. This has been based on the design capacity and the minimum cover depth, as stated in the design settings. The levels will also automatically be picked up by using the Smart Surface tool from the CAD entities. Given that we are now within Flow, let's have a look at some of the new features that we've put in. If you haven't noticed, we've also put in a plan view, which you can zoom in and pan around and focus in on any of the areas. You can also, if you hover the mouse over one of the elements, a pop-up display will appear, and that provides an information panel. And you can talk, and you can navigate to any of those controls or nodes by clicking on the blue link within that. Also, because our storm and foul networks cross each other, we can now use the show crossings function in our long section to show any of these crossings, and in here it's shown by a red cross. Again, if we hover over the top of that, again we get an information panel that pops up, and this will give us some more information with regards to that link. So now let's have a look at the new functions that we've introduced into Flow. So within Flow controls, we've introduced an automatic size calculator to our flow controls, and this will help calculate the size of flow control required, such as the diameter of an orifice plate or the width of a weir, just by specifying the known quantities of the design depth and design flow. As you can see, all I have to do is specify the two variables and click on calculate. We've also introduced two new flow controls, a proprietary variable flow control from Hydrock called HydroSlide. With this, you can specify the design depth and design flow to determine the diameter based on the model you choose. Flow is also configured to make sure the right size manhole is used to fit the HydroSlide model type that is selected. We have also added a new pump control. With switch on and switch off depths, so you can model level control pumps. It is also possible to specify multiple pumps in the same location. So now if we edit the node name where we have the pump, I'm just putting that together, sorry. So now if we edit the node name and we have the pump, because we have a cascade rename switch in preferences, you can rename cascade to all ancillaries. This means changes that you make to a node will automatically be recognized by all associated ancillaries and links, making the editing of your network far more straightforward. However, if you can switch it off. So if you want to maintain your current workflow, again, you can work in that way. We've also introduced an approval test so that you can run and perform up to 16 compliance tests. That will determine whether a design is suitable for approval based on a set of predefined criteria. All of these variables are either from source for adoption or varying legislation, regulation, standards, and/or guidance. One thing to also notice here is that we have introduced greenfield runoff volumes here. We're just going to be putting in those greenfield runoffs. So adding in our seasonal annual average rainfalls. And now by calculating those, that will then bring that into our test. And then you can also do exactly the same thing with the greenfield runoff. However, we have now brought in a catchment wetness index calculator so that you don't have to refer to the Syria manual and have a look at that rather ambiguous graph in the on page 538. Here, this result is compared to all post-development simulation runs of specified return periods, regardless of the climate change value. Once you have run the approval test, which we're doing now, there will be a traffic light system, as we have in running throughout the theme of our software, so as to give you an indication of how your design has fared. So here we can see that we've got some red lights that have flagged up. So we've got no losses and the recommended no loss. The link sizes. And again, going through, we can see that we've got crossings and cover depths. And so all of these areas will need to be addressed before we can really put this forward to approval. Again, for the sake of the webinar in Blue Peter style, we have previously addressed all of the issues that were highlighted by Flo in this approval test. So I'm just going to load that up. And we can then analyze those changes that were made. Now, with regards to the approvals settings, we are working closely with approving authorities so that we can, so that they can see our software and they can have sight of it and get to use the software, but also to try and see if there are any regional differences so that they can then include, so that then we can then work with them to try and include some of those within the approval settings. So it's not going to, this isn't a static document. It is something that we're going to be augmenting and improving upon so that we can take recognition of some of the regional differences throughout the UK. Here you can see that we have our preferences, and we've also, when it comes to the results, you are now able to determine what is printed out based on pages and columns. So for example, if you don't require the dwelling column in the nodes page because you have a storm design, all you have to do is click it off. As another example, if you don't want the approval results to be part of your report, then you can tick the entire page off. You can then output the report as a PDF, or you can, or as we've done previously, you can export this out as an Excel. So this is now going to be generating our report, and here we can see the PDF version. And now we can show just opening up in the Excel. So you can have sight of that. And again, you can turn on and off different columns or areas so that if you don't want to have that included in your report, then they won't be showing. So here we can have, you can see all of the the, the design and the simulation settings: 1 year critical, 30-year critical, 100-year plus climate change critical, and also the full gamut of all the other storms that you may have ran. So we can now take our design out of CAD, back into the CAD, and out from Flow. We can now see that we've now got the direction of flow, and we've also got the pipe sizes in on the network. And so both the storm and the foul have been imported. You can define multiple networks within AutoCAD and Flow, and this will make SmartDrainage suitable for all sizes of design teams. So if you're just a designer working on your own, you can work with it, or if you're working on joint ventures, and different teams can work on different sections of the design, and then you can combine it together later. And that's really because you're not having to stick to that dendritic pipe numbering system. You can have different phases and different parts of the business, different parts of the organization can work on that and work collaboratively with that. We can then also set up the different sort of annotations, and so here we can see that we've got the annotation on the pipe networks, and we can and then we can also in AutoCAD is generate things like our manhole schedules, and then also generate things like our long sections. So we are just getting the and sorry, it's taking a bit of time to go through and work through all of this, and I think it's just a slightly slower on this. So what we're doing is then we can see that there's a command line being put in our finished version. This is what we're really working on, is that user interface. So instead of punching in commands into the command line, you're able to click on specific icons. So here you can see now that we've generated our manhole schedules, and again it uses that Predel clock methodology to show you the incoming and outgoing pipes within each of the manholes. And then also we can look at putting in our long sections, so generate those long sections. And again, this will also be done with instead of clicking in a command, you will then be clicking on an icon. And so here you can see from the long section that we've got all of our pipe lengths. We've also got the chainage, and we can see all the sort of the cover levels and associated cover levels. And so in reflection, this will convert all of your CAD graphics into that network, ready for the design and analysis in Flow. And then once you've worked on your analysis in Flow, your hydraulic testings and hydraulic design, you can then use the approval function so as to run through that approval tests, and then you can then also then bring that into back into AutoCAD so that you can run through your design. Okay, so what we're going to do now is ask another of the sort of the pop quizzes, the pop polls.
Absolutely. So the next poll is, what type of projects do you work on? We've got residential, industrial, public works projects, or highways.
Yeah, that's very telling. Just the number of residential work that's going out there. But also, I think that with the sort of the highway side of things and the industrial side, we are working with some of the other sort of proprietary drainage production manufacturers to be able to include other other things. So we are working. So it's not just the hydroslide. Again, we are looking to augment the conduit types and augment the flow controls that we have available to end users, so that it will really be the the modules and the products that you want to put into the software and into your designs will actually be in that software. You know, a lot of you guys that are attending this know about flow, and that it really gives you that intuitive process of being able to generate storm and foul water networks. And then also with the flow version 4, we've been able to put in that plan view and also increase the number of flow controls, put that crossing and clashing identification tool in, which again is a very powerful and really useful tool when you're looking at multiple networks. We've also put that approval test in, and that approval test is something that we are actively working with approval authorities, so as to get their feedback, and so making it far easier for designers to be able to submit their designs. We've also enhanced the design output, so being able to turn on and off columns, so that when you are generating reports, you can either now do that in Excel, or you can do that in PDF. And so we know that sometimes approval authorities feel that a PDF is a better thing. And then also we've also got this automatic size calculator. So and again, that's a really powerful tool to really sort of help streamline and make things more efficient. So then we also have a look at the SmartDrainage, and this is just a bit of a glimpse. I know that when we were showing you it earlier, we were going through those command lines, but here you can see that some of the icons that we're going to be using, so export to flow and import from flow, and looking at the different networks. And then this is just some information on some of the training. And so, yeah, on the 3rd of April, the 8th of May, and then also on the 12th of June, we're going to be running running our training courses. And the training courses really be looking at the industry regulation overview, the design of a foul and storm network, and then also looking at storage structures, so on and off offline storage structures and flow controls, and then also looking at the storm network simulation and the analysis thereof. And so now, yeah, we're just seeing if you've got any sort of questions and comments whilst we were going through the presentation for you guys.
Hi, Tom. Yes, we've got lots of lovely questions coming throughout. So I'll start from the top, I guess.
Right.
So we've got a couple of questions that ask, what if you don't have AutoCAD?
So if you don't have AutoCAD, but you just have Flow, you can upgrade your license to the professional version. And that professional version, so Flow Professional, has the graphical interface which uses the PDS tools so that you can lay out a drainage network, though as a standalone, and then you can import those into Flow, and then bring those back into the graphical interface that we have in the Flow Professional, so that you can do the annotation and the long sections, and then also the manhole schedules. So the SmartDrainage really is for those AutoCAD, for people with full versions of AutoCAD or Civils 3.
So are there any more questions?
I think this one asks from Glenn, do the polylines for links have to be drawn in the same direction as the pipe is intended to flow?
So no, I've just brought Ned in, so you should be able to.
Yeah, sorry, my headset wasn't functioning. Can you repeat the question, Jenny?
Yep. We have a question. Do the polylines for links have to be drawn in the same direction as the pipe is intended to flow?
No, all you have to do is identify the outfall manhole. As long as you identify the outfall manhole, it should automatically pick up the network. So it doesn't matter which direction it is, as long as you know the outfall node or the outfall manhole. That's all you have to identify, and SmartDrainage will automatically design the network for you. Not design, but identify the nodes and links upstream, and we'll give it a geometric numbering system to start with, but obviously you can rename it if you want to.
Thanks, Nat. The next question we have is, we might have addressed some of these questions. They came in quite early, so just let me know and I'll move on to the next one. But we've got one from James who asks, how are cover levels brought into Flow Model from SmartDrainage, and does it integrate a surface?
Yes, we have two ways. There's a smart surface tool we developed in conjunction with SmartDrainage. You can pick up the cover level from the SmartDrainage tool or from your AutoCAD CAD surface. So either way, Flow will be able to read the surface coordinate and topography from a SmartDrainage automatically.
Thank you, Nat. The next one again from James, we've got, is there a library or user determined files that can be loaded as predetermined approval test?
There is a default setting we have already specified with the software, but obviously that is something that could vary and change from one approving authority to other. So you can be able to save your settings, and you'll be able to run that the next time round. But in general, we have made it possible so that it can be catered for your own settings.
Thanks, Nat. We're getting through them. Siobhan asks, will the data export to PDS in this format, as in with the arrows and labels?
Yeah, absolutely. Flow works with PDS, so it should automatically be a given.
Perfect, thank you. We've got another one from James who asks, I presume at present the approval tests are hydraulic tests mostly and not layout tests, for example, distance from curbs, etc.
Yeah, that's correct. But we have in the approval settings, we have actually made some parts of the parameters that could be tested, such as node losses or that's manhole head loss, the size of the pipe, the link size or the pipe size, the coordinates, whether you have clash in your conflict, and things like the minimum cover depths that needs to be specified. You can specify that, or the maximum cover depth if you want to. The backdrops, whether you have full bore velocity or proportional velocity that you want to be able to meet. So all those parameters can be tested as part of the approval test. If you need that, you can switch it off and just look at the hydraulic test.
Thanks very much. The next question is, would the CAD link work with BricsCAD?
At the moment, it will work with AutoCAD and Civil 3D.
Okay, and then another question regarding that, I think as well. Will SmartDrainage run on CAD LT?
Now, unfortunately, AutoCAD Lite will not allow other third-party applications to run alongside it. And as SmartDrainage is actually embedded in the AutoCAD, the full version of AutoCAD or Civil 3D, if you only have the Lite version, unfortunately, you will not be able to have the smart drainage capability.
Thanks, guys. The next question from Glenn. Can the gradients of the links be output from Flow to CAD and annotated as per the diameter?
Yes, absolutely. You can annotate any of the columns you see in the links or nodes. So in Flow, so essentially you get to pick what you would like to annotate, depending on obviously your link and node settings. Whatever you have as a column in Flow in your link type and node type, you'll be able to annotate as your pipe schedule, basically.
Thanks, Nat. We've just got 5-6 more questions. So Andrew asks, will a 200-year discharge storm function be added as this is required for Scotland?
Yes, that is something we can definitely look into.
Thank you. Glenn also asks, is this compatible with PDS for ground models, etc.?
Flow, you can interact with Flow and bring that into PDS. With regards to smart drainage and the smart surfaces, that connect hasn't been made as of yet. But again, it's things that we are looking at with regards to, and it is all dependent on our customer feedback and requirements from the industry.
Thank you, Tom. A question from Ian. Can we set up an Excel template that formats and sizes the columns so that when we export results to Excel, they will fit to an A4 or A3?
You can pretty much edit the Excel as you like, as you see fit. Again, the columns can also be, as you saw, can be switched off, switched on. The pages can be switched on and switched off. We are going to add a lot more user specified features for the printout, but this is a starting point, and I think it will do just about whatever you want to do with it at the moment. But we'll look into adding features like that in the future.
Thanks very much. So the last few then. Is there an option to adjust the text size, font and color when working in Flow?
Not at the moment. As again, you can edit it in Excel, as you know. You can use Excel to edit that. But we are looking into that for the future. Again, it's in our priority list.
Thanks, Nat. Martin asks, can I use this to put manhole information next to the manholes in CAD?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice short answer there. Glenn asks, how is the SUDS feature incorporated in SmartDrainage?
So actually, one of the main reasons we are actually looking at expanding SmartDrainage is, and we created SmartDrainage is to look at bifurcation, SUDS, and things like that. So at the moment, it will bring in all the information to do with storage or infiltration structures, as well as flow controls and so on, all associated attenuation or flow control structures you have within Flow, you have set up within Flow. But in the future, is something we are looking into, so that you'll be able to actually specify your set structure or draw them in SmartDrainage and export it into Flow and bring it back again, as you saw already for the links and nodes. Yeah, we are definitely going to see that in the future.
Perfect, thank you. And the last question then is from Jack, and he asks, can you use Flow with SWS and FWS files from a PDS design?
You can bring those into PDS, but I'll hand over to Ned so that he can clarify a bit more about that. So Ned, if you'd like to answer some more on that.
Thanks, Tom. When it comes to the format, you will be able to actually save a specific file format called PFD, going from PDS to Flow and Flow to PDS. This will include all the ancillary details to do with flow controls, storage structures, infiltration structures, if you have hydrographs and so on. So all the information that is included in Flow can be exported to PDS and so on. So I would say that is the more powerful file format you'll be able to use. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are a couple of questions just addressing price points and how much the software is, but we will get back to you regarding any of those questions that you have. I'd just like to say thank you very much for attending the webinar today. I just want to remind you that we've got the handout on the control panel if you haven't already downloaded that, just for your information. And as I said earlier on in the webinar, when you close the webinar, you'll have a little exit survey pop up just with a couple of questions. And it's really useful to get your answers on that one. As we've found during this webinar, all of those answers will really help us sort of dig deeper into the software and things that you want from the software we can look into. So it's really useful to get your answers on that survey. Tom, Net, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just thank you very much, Jenny, for hosting this. Your input's been invaluable. And again, if there are any questions that people want to ask us, if there's anything that flags up after the event, once you've had a look at the recordings thereafter, please feel free and contact myself or Net. My email address is maybe a little bit easier than Net's. Mine is just tom.fox@causeway.com.
And the other thing I would like to say is, if this software is your software, we are here to make sure your life is easier when it comes to designing drainage networks. So if you find anything that needs to be enhanced, or you have feedback that needs to be added into Flow or SmartDrainage, please feel free to give us your feedback, because we rely on it, and we are here to serve you. So please give us your feedback, and thank you for attending.